They surprised me with a party for my 21st birthday, but instead of cake or gifts, there was only a printed list of 7 bills they expected me to cover. Mom smirked and said, "Grown men don't get cake. They get responsibility." Dad added, "Get used to discipline, son. You've got 30 days to pay." I just laughed, and that night, I froze everything. But they didn't realize that was just the beginning of a big change. My name is Nate. I'm 21, the oldest, the quiet one who fixes the Wi-Fi, shovels the driveway, and keeps receipts in a shoe box because someone has to remember how the lights stay on. I work part-time at a hardware store and take night classes for accounting. I like clean lines, groceries in the right shelf, gas tank at half before it hits E, alarms set and even numbers. In our house, respect means do it mom's way, and discipline means do it dad's way. If you ask them, I'm the responsible one. If you ask me, I'm the background music for their decisions. My sister Kayla, she's the headliner. She's creative and free-spirited, which has always meant someone else will pick up the tab. I grew up watching the ledger of our family tilt. When I was 15, I bought my own used phone from mowing lawns. Kayla got a new iPhone because girls need safety. When I was 17, I paid for my prom tux with tips from the store. Kayla got lashes, a spray tan, and a limo because it's once in a lifetime. When I started college, I paid cash for textbooks and cooked rice and eggs. Kayla took a gap year to heal. So, when mom texted me home at 6 o'clock for a surprise, I actually smiled. 21 is a big number. 2 decades and a bonus year. Maybe a cake, maybe a little speech about how I turned out steady, and she's proud in her quiet way. I walked in at 608, still in my red hardware polo. Balloons were tied to a chair, all one color, like they bought whatever was on sale. A banner said "Happy Birthday" in block letters. The table was set, but the oven wasn't on. No smell of anything baking. No candles. Kayla was on the couch scrolling, one leg tucked under her. Dad stood with his arms folded like a coach. "Surprise," Mom sang, and then handed me a manila folder with clip art on the cover. She'd printed the title in a big, cheerful font. "Nate's Adulting Wish List." I laughed on reflex. "Okay, what is this?" "Open it," Dad said. He sounded like he was about to grade me. Inside were 7 sheets stacked like a to-do list: water bill, cable, family phone plan, Dad's truck insurance, Kayla's last 2 months of program tuition, Grandma's prescription fund, and the HOA fee that had gone to collections after Dad forgot. Again, each page had a due date and a blank line next to amount paid by Nate _. At the bottom of the stack, in caps, 30 days. "Where's the cake?" I asked because I didn't know how else to stand there. Mom smiled tight. "Grown men don't get cake. They get responsibility." Dad nodded, satisfied. "Get used to discipline, son. You've got 30 days to pay." Kayla didn't look up. "It's so cute," she said, meaning the folder. Pinterest vibes. The house hummed. The fridge, the fish tank, the cheap string lights. Kayla never turned off. I looked at the 7 pages and saw 7 little doors into my future. All of them labeled mine now because I turned 21. "Is this a joke?" I said. My voice came out soft. It always does first. Mom tilted her head. "It's love," she said. "We support each other. You're a man now." I rested the folder on the counter next to the paper plates and the plastic forks. There were no presents. There was a stack of napkins with balloons on them like the universe wanted the theme to make sense. Dad clapped me on the shoulder a little too hard. "Proud of you," he said like he'd already watched me sign something. "Happy birthday," Kayla added without looking away from her phone. Nothing blew up in that moment. No fight, no big scene. The trigger wasn't fireworks. It was a neat stack of printer paper with numbers on it, and a smirk about cake. I stood there for a beat longer, feeling the old familiar assignment settling on me. The group project where I'm the only one who reads the prompt. I nodded because nodding is the language we speak here before anything is decided. Then I set the folder down like it was hot and asked, "Do we have any ice?" Kayla snorted. Mom raised an eyebrow. Dad said, "Ice is for children. You're a grown man." The house still hummed. My stomach did too. I pulled out a chair and sat. I stared at the banner. "Happy birthday," big block letters, no exclamation mark. It looked honest. Flat. "Okay," I said. "Let's eat." But there was nothing to eat. Just the wish list on the table and the sound of the freezer running hard in a kitchen where the cake never existed. I didn't say no that night. Not yet. I swallowed. I smiled with my mouth closed. I watched everyone play their parts. The folder waited. The clock did too. The first trigger had already fired. It just sounded like a printer. The money thing didn't start with 7 bills. It started with the family plan. It'll be cheaper if we put everyone on your account. Mom said when I got my first debit card at 18. You're good with apps. It was $180 a month for 4 lines. Temporary, she said. Temporary became, you're so organized. Then Dad's truck insurance, just for a couple months, because my card's in flux. Add $142. Then the water bill because the login is your email anyway. $58. Then $62. Then $71 when the city raised rates. Then Netflix since you watch it even though I didn't. $1,549. Little things that all had the same shape, my name, their lives. Kayla called money energy. She posted quotes about abundance and said, the universe provides while demaying me screenshots of overdue notices. Can you front it? She'd ask. I'll VMO you later. Later slid into never, then into, wow, don't be weird about money. At 16, I signed my first family agreement. Dad printed it from the library. It said room and board for son at the top, $200 a month. He said it would teach me discipline. When I asked what exactly it covered, he said everything. When I asked for a receipt, he laughed until Mom told me I was being too clinical. I paid anyway. Once, when I was late a week, he took my PS4 as collateral. It disappeared into we needed gas. I started hiding cash in the dryer lint trap. My job at the hardware store came with expectations. Dad wanted tools on discount because we put food in your mouth. Mom asked for a space heater. Kayla wanted paint for her mural project. The store manager began looking at me like I was stealing. I started saying no. Dad called me arrogant. School drained what was left. Community college was all I could afford. I chose accounting because numbers don't cry or accuse you of being cruel. Dad mocked it. Bean counter, he'd say. Mom called me her little calculator when I refused to co-sign Kayla's car loan. Kayla called me a banker when I asked for the $83 she owed me for oat milk and gas. The small moments stacked into a pattern. At dinner, the check would land, and Dad would point at me without lifting his eyes. Nate's got it. At Christmas, Kayla got AirPods, I got socks, and a lecture about investing. When Grandma's fridge broke, Mom ended the debate in the group chat with, Nate will handle it. I did. I put the new fridge on my card. When Grandma tried to pay me back, Mom scolded her. We're not a ledger. But I am. I can't help it. I kept a note on my phone with dates and amounts. I told myself it wasn't a weapon, just proof I wasn't imagining it. The wish list for my birthday was just the neat version of what we already lived. 7 bills, itemized, water $71. Cable/internet $119. Family phones, for lines, $180. Dad's truck insurance, $142. Kayla's tuition, 2 months, $1,200. Grandma's prescriptions, $94. HOA dues and late fees, for $136. Subtotal, $2,242. Due dates circled, 30 days to pay. In Dad's block letters like a countdown. I asked why Kayla's tuition was on there. Mom said she had to finish her certification. Kayla said healing isn't linear, and the program ends with a white robe and a folding chair in a hotel ballroom. She'd already posted the robe on Instagram with the caption soon. Dad said a man provides for his family and looked at me the way he looks at the quarterback who throws to the wrong guy. And then there was the truck. Dad had a refinance lined up if I would just co-sign. He slid me the folder like it was nothing. It's not like we won't pay it. It's for the family. The last time he said family like that, my credit got a hard inquiry I never authorized. He called me dramatic, said I should be proud of a high limit. Mom likes to do meetings. 2 days after the party, she sat me down with a legal pad. Let's make a plan, she said. I could cover the phone bill, the water, the HOA, and Grandma's meds. Dad said he'd cover the truck insurance if I co-signed a refinance. Kayla promised she'd pay her tuition back once she launched her practice. She said practice like she was a dentist. Kayla nodded, serious, like she was an expert in something you couldn't Google. I asked, what about cake? It slipped out. I hadn't meant to say it. Mom's mouth tightened. We're talking about adults, she said. Adults eat, I answered. Dad leaned back. Smart mouth, he said. Smart mouths don't pay bills. Actually, I said quietly. They do. Kayla rolled her eyes so far back I saw all white, like a trick. Money is energy, she said. Yours is too tight. I'm saving for a used Honda, I said. I'm saving for a deposit. I'm saving so I'm not a walking ATM with chores. Mom tapped her pen. Don't be crass, she said. This is family. There was one Sunday it all tipped mean in the sideways way we do. Aunt Linda came over and we had spaghetti. Dad made sure everyone could hear when he joked. Nate's the new head of household. People laughed. I laughed too, because my body knows to laugh when it's outnumbered. Later, while I washed dishes, Aunt Linda squeezed my shoulder and said, "You're so blessed to be useful." I wiped a plate and thought about how useful sounded like shovel. The pressure wasn't the bills themselves. It was the way they asked. I was supposed to be grateful for the chance to prove I was a man by carrying debts I didn't make. They were counting on my silence. The night after the party, Mom slid the folder toward me again while Dad flipped channels. Kayla practiced her graduation walk down the hall in the white robe she hadn't paid for. Mom's voice was syrup. "We'll all feel better once this is handled," she said. That I stared at the pages. I could see how those lines would multiply, how the list would become a subscription, how my 21 would slide into 25, then 30, with reminders signed with "We raised you. You owe us." I didn't flip the table. I didn't give a speech. I just said, "I need to think." Dad smirked. 30 days. Men don't need longer. Kayla paused in the doorway and snapped a selfie with me blurred in the background. The caption appeared on her story seconds later. Adulting vibes, no cake. 7 bills. A timer I hadn't set, but everyone heard that I went to my room, sat on the edge of my bed, and counted my cash. I opened my checking app. I scrolled through the ledger on my phone. The record of little favors turned permanent. $20, $83, $142, $180, $436. Numbers stacked like a staircase to nowhere. I wanted to climb. The problem wasn't money. It was ownership. They wanted mine, and they wanted it smiling. 2 days later, Mom scheduled a family check-in like we were a startup. Sunday, 5 o'clock. She put it on the fridge calendar with a star and a smiley face. Bring your plan. The sticky note said .at5. The living room looked like a meeting room. Chairs in a circle. Legal pads. Pens. Caleb brought tea in mismatched mugs. Dad sat wide like a coach. Folder in the center. 7 pages under a coaster. Mom opened with, "We love you," which in our house always meant a bill. She listed it out. I'd take water, cable, phones, the HOA. Dad would handle his truck if I co-signed the refinance. "No," I said. Silence. Then again, no. I told them I wasn't the family purse, wasn't co-signing, wasn't financing Kayla's program. Mom's smile froze. Kayla called me selfish. Dad told me to watch my tone. I stayed calm. "You fed me? I paid rent since 16. You took my PS4 as collateral. You put your truck on my card. I kept receipts." Dad barked that real men don't nickel and dime family. I said real men pay their own truck insurance. Mom snapped. "Then you're banned from holidays." Dad gave me 30 days. Kayla rolled her eyes. I stood steady. "Here's my boundary, no." At the door I added, "If it's about grandma's meds, call me. I'll help her. Not the truck, not the HOA, not tuition. The rest is no." Dad tried to claim my name. "It's my name," I said. I walked out. The sky was pink, too perfect, and for once I let it be. Not free, but steady. The line was drawn. The meeting ended without applause. The folder stayed on the table. My name stayed with me. That night, I sat at my desk and acted. First, I froze my credit. 3 bureaus, pins written on an index card, and dropped in my shoebox of receipts. Second, I canceled my card, removed authorized users, and got a new number. Third, I paid off the phone plan, scheduled my line to split, and sent Mom the link. Fourth, I transferred the water bill and HOA out of my name. Fifth, I changed all the streaming passwords. Sixth, I closed Dad's emergency gas card. Seventh, I moved my savings to a new bank, turned on 2-factor, made a spreadsheet called Exit. The text started instantly. Mom, petty. Dad, childish. Kayla, WTF. I ignored them. It wasn't punishment. It was housekeeping. At 10:42 p.m., Dad called. "What did you do?" "I protected my credit," I said. "Your family, not creditors." He hung up. Mom tried. Kayla posted a black story about betrayal. Only Grandma checked in gently. I told her I'd handle her meds directly at BY morning. 43 missed calls, then Dad pounding on my door. I texted back one word, boundary. At work, Mike from electrical asked if I needed a room. $600, month to month. I said yes. That night, I packed what was mine, clothes, shoebox, laptop, a mug. I left the trophies, left the handprints. I taped a note in my closet. I'll help Grandma. Not the rest. Don't come to my job. I changed my number. Gave it to Grandma, Mike, my boss. I updated my address. Bought myself a $30 cake with a single 21 candle. Lit it in a kitchen that didn't know my family's voices. It tasted like sugar and relief. 2 days later, the HOA tried billing me again. I forwarded proof the account was transferred. Wrong party. Send. No drama. Mom kept trying. We can undo this. Come home. Dad sent a picture of his truck. Kayla posted robes and captions about clapping for yourself. Aunt Linda left a voice note about forgiveness. I did laundry. I went to work. My new budget had 3 lines. Rent $600. Utilities $90. Savings $300. The rest mine. For the first time, the math was mine too. A week later, Mom texted. If you sign the refinance, you can come to Thanksgiving. I'll be with friends. I replied that we won't forget this. Me either. Then I poured myself a glass of water in a place where the bill wasn't in their name.